You ready? All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the City Council, City of Holiday Island on July 19th, 2022. It's 6 p.m. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Dumas.
Here.
Councilmember Elwood.
Aye.
Councilmember Graves.
Here.
Councilmember Mills.
Here.
Councilmember Pittman.
Here.
All here, all present, Mr. Mayor.
I'll declare a quorum. A motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as submitted.
Ken made a motion to approve. Do I have a
I'll second.
Linda seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Wes circulated minutes of the last meeting. Any questions on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from June 21.
I'll move we approve June 21 minutes.
Lynn made a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Pat seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Any ceremonial recognitions, proclamations, or memorial? Anything to proclaim? Nobody wants to proclaim that it's hot.
Yeah, I think it's a foregone.
I don't think we need to proclaim it.
All right, Wes also, we'll move on to the financials. Wes distributed the financial statements for period ending June 30th. Any discussion on the financials? Wes, you want to highlight them?
Okay, sure. I'll begin with the balance sheet. We ended the month with a total of $245,905 in the bank. That included $133,000 in the general fund, $75,000 in the general fund reserves, and $37,850 in the street fund. In the general fund, we had total revenue of $24,205 in June. $20,691 of that was our share of the county sales tax. 2003-14 was state municipal aid. There was $96 for our share of the county property tax collections and $1,104 in permits. Expenses for the month totaled $8,500. So income exceeded the expenses by $15,706, bringing us to the balance of $133,054 at the end of June. The street fund, we had the revenue was $18,516. $1,950 of that was for our share of the county property tax for streets that was collected. That would be during the month of May. The expenses were $28. I think that was for bridge inspection paid to the State Department of Transportation. So you had the $18,516 in revenue and $28 in expense, leaving a balance of $37,850 at the end of the month. And then there's the carry forward balance of $75,000 in the general fund reserve. and no change in that during June. Questions?
Make a motion to accept the financial statements.
Ken made a motion to accept.
Second.
Jerry seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financials are accepted. Standing committees, I didn't itemize any for this meeting, but, Lynn, you wanna bring us up to speed on planning commission?
Planning Commission met last Tuesday, and we talked about the revisions that were needed in the regulations for planning and zoning. And we set a tentative date then for a hearing, a public hearing, to have those finally heard before the public and allow comments for August 9th. But scheduling conflict that I had with the newspaper, we have to move it to Wednesday the 10th. So that's our next step in the planning commission.
Okay. And the documents are all posted for people to,
Not yet. I was gonna do that when it appears in the newspaper, so that would be next Tuesday.
okay.
Now, that's gonna be a night meeting, right?
Yes, 6 p.m.
So will those be posted in our posting locations, and is that where they'll be?
No, I'll put them on our website for public viewing.
Okay.
It's like we typically do. There'll be work documents for that meeting. I haven't figured out how to make a splash of that newsprint article, but we'll figure that out so that it really shows up that we're having a public hearing.
Okay, Jerry, anything on,
No new developments on, broadband.
okay,
I did go up to the Hot Box, they're thriving with their new venture there. Farmhouse packed.
yeah. And it's, it's a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is tourists.
Sad thing about it though, I know the employees need breaks, but there's no place to eat here on Monday. Well,
Shirley's, isn't Shirley
Mariachi's
open on Monday?
open on Monday.
the truck,
Mariachi.
oh,
Monday.
well, I was talking about for lunch, my nephew and his boys were coming through. Ended up having to go to Eureka.
Mariachi's open.
Okay, moving on to old business, no old business, under new business.
Dan, you have a hand up in the audience over there.
It's not time for comments yet, but
Oh, I just have a question. At the next planning committee on August 10th, will there be any permits at that time being presented, or is it just a meeting on planning that you're going to?
the public hearing that Lynn was talking about we're about ready to pass our zoning ordinances, and the law requires that you hold a public hearing and solicit public input before adopting any zoning ordinances. So that is the only purpose of that hearing, is to review the proposed zoning ordinances. Things like building permits and stuff, the planning commission really doesn't have anything to do with that anymore. That's, the building inspector does that now.
Okay, but say if someone were to present a proposed permit, you are all on the planning commission, am I correct in that?
What, a permit for what?
Just hypothetical.
If somebody wants a building permit, they would go to the building inspector. We don't really have any other kinds of permits right now that anybody would want.
Okay.
Okay, moving on then to ordinance 2022-010, or revision to the building code. I'll have Wes read the actual ordinance, and then I'll go through the actual changes that are being made to the building code specifically.
Okay, ordinance,
Well, wait, I guess first we have to have a motion.
that's right.
I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2022-010.
I'll make that motion.
Pat made a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, Ken seconded it. Now we can move on to reading the ordinance.
Okay, ordinance number 2022-10. An ordinance updating to the building code for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. Whereas in ordinance 2021-017, the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas adopted a building code, and whereas the building code must be from time to time updated for various reasons, now reordained by the city council of the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, that the following additions and corrections are being made to the city of Holiday Island building code. And since the building code is currently being used in the issuance of building permits, and since it is in the best interest of the citizens of Holiday Island that most current information be used in the issuance of permits, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance will become effective upon passage. Passed and approved by the city council of Holiday Island, Arkansas, on this date of 7/19/2022.
Okay, and I'll go through the actual changes to the building code. The first change is, when we first passed this, building code, it was structured in municipal code format with title and chapter. And, we were later advised by our city attorney that, that's really a two-step process. You pass ordinances first, and then you pass an ordinance to codify all of your ordinances. And, that's when it becomes title and chapters and things like that. So the first change is I'm scratching Title 11 from the title of the building code. In the first section under 11.01, we had in there the Board of Adjustment. I'm adding the word zoning to be more clear as to what board we're talking about. It would be the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And on the next page, 11.03.01, I added the term "and City of Holiday Island Planning Commission if required," and scratched these and inserted the Holiday Island Planning and Zoning Regulations. This again, purely for clarification. Under the note, it had said existing parcels cannot be subdivided. We added "and lots," so now it reads existing parcels and lots cannot be subdivided without being submitted and approved by the Holiday Island City Planning Commission. Going on to 11.03.02, again for clarification. Well, in this particular case, I scratched the Holiday Island City Planning Commission. The building permit applications are not going to the building inspector and the planning commission. They only go to the building inspector.
You didn't scratch it.
It's not in,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
still there.
scratched and done.
Your version
It's
is
in
Just
red.
added Holiday Island City in front of planning.
Well, it should be lined out. It's lined out on my version here. On the official version, that's the way. So yeah, we're removing "and Holiday Island City Planning Commission." Then on the next page, which would be section 11.03.03, section 5, we're scratching "each" and replacing the term with "most units in Holiday Island," and instead of "has," changing it to "have" to be grammatically correct.
They're very teacher.
well, we have our, we have our resident,
We don't go.
grammar and spell check,
It's a team.
everybody brings something to the party. And in the table of, under 110304 fees, we had just R1, R2, and R3 in the first block. We added R1M. And then we added the entire table on inspections. When we made an update to the building code with, I think it was back in February. I don't remember if, we weren't collecting inspection fees at the time because we didn't have a building inspector. Consequently, the inspection fee schedule may have been deliberately left out when that revision was made, or it may have inadvertently been left out. In either case, we now have a building inspector and we are going to start collecting fees for doing inspections. And so we put the table back in for inspection fees.
Did I raise a question on those fees?
Why don't you wait and, if you could, make a note, and when we get done, we can come back to it.
Okay.
Under 11.03.06, first sentence, we added replacing siding or roofing material. And we added fences, new fence installation requires plan approval by the building inspector. A no-charge permit will be issued. And concrete flat work, all concrete flat work exceeding 120 square feet and not otherwise associated with an existing building permit requires a no-charge building permit. And the design and placement of hobby chicken coops must be approved by the building inspector and requires a no-charge building permit. That last sentence was added in anticipation of the zoning ordinance being passed that allows hobby chickens. The reason for the fences is strictly so that we know what's going on, so that people aren't building, 6-foot privacy fences in their front yard and stuff like that. And the concrete flat work, again, is to assure that the concrete flat work is being done correctly with the proper reinforcing and footings if necessary and things like that. Moving on to the flow chart for building permit application process. Like I said earlier, the Planning Commission is not in the process stream anymore, so I scratched the sentence, building inspector provides one copy to the City Planning Commission. Then moving on to page 10, the sentence at the very top of the page, no private wells are allowed. We're adding within the corporate limits of Holiday Island. And then under 11.06.01, paragraph B, we added due to the potential for subgrade material in Holiday Island to move and settle all concrete work. And then we referred to what was already in there, concrete work, flat work, including drives, porches, and patios shall have. And then we added again, rebar or wire mesh and reinforcement placed in the approximate middle third of the slab once poured. To assure proper location, the reinforcement material must be placed on bolsters or chairs. The type of reinforcement and bolster chairs to be used must be specified on the architectural drawings. We had a very simple statement in there that was open to interpretation about reinforcing in concrete, so we added some verbiage there to make it very clear what we're intending.
And, okay, you want us to wait, never mind.
Okay, moving on to page 13, under 11.07.01, installation of a mobile home or replacement of a mobile home or another mobile definition for mobile home, because mobile home and manufactured home are terms that are incorrectly used interchangeably. Installation of a new or manufactured, again in parentheses, see definition of a manufactured home, must be done, and I added in compliance with ACA annotated 20-25-101 at sequence, meaning all the sections of that code that follow, and rules and regulations of Arkansas Manufactured Home Commission dated January 10th, 2017, or most recent addition. Installation must be done by an authorized installer. And then under authorized installer means, and then I have the definition there. This was added, our new building inspector did, as a result of a request to install a used but relatively new mobile manufactured home here in Holiday Island. We found ourselves really lacking in understanding of what the legal requirements are for installing a manufactured home. We already had understood that it still needs to meet the HUD, requirements that are certified by the medallion that's placed on the unit. But we didn't realize that the state of Arkansas has a lengthy manual on what constitutes proper installation and who is authorized to do that installation and what certification is required to do the installation. So we added this documentation in there so that it doesn't get lost in the future when somebody wants to install a manufactured home. Then moving on to section, or let's see, on page 15, chapter 11.1, or 0.10. On the very last two sentences, I added city before attorney, and representative of the city, I added of Holiday Island, again for clarification. So those are all the changes. Some of them are significant in content to add to our building code. Some of the changes are just clarification and grammar. Now, Ken, you had a question?
On the inspection fees, did we get that? I mean, it seems a little high, but is that something that's industry standard, or?
On what is that? The inspection fees?
Inspection fees, yeah.
We are way, 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 way under what any other city around here does.
Okay. I have no experience on it, but I just wondered what.
Go over to P Ridge, it probably costs you,
Is it,
$5,000 in permits and inspection fees to build a house.
is that become part of the building inspector's salary then?
It's just revenue to the city. He's paid on an hourly basis.
Okay. All right, that's the only questions I had, Dan.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question about the fees too. It's, talk about the concrete work, flat work, a certain size, whatever, no fee. But then down in there, it talks about all the criteria they have to meet. I mean, is that, I guess, what was behind the decision that no fee on that?
Because there's really no work involved for us to look at the plans and make sure
Well,
that.
I guess that's what I'm getting at, and I was thinking that may be the reason. But if he issues a permit that requires all that stuff, so we have no way of knowing if they've got rebar and mesh and all of that.
But when we issue the permit, at least we can get them to provide us with a document that specifies it.
And if it doesn't work, we'll tighten it up.
To a large extent, it's to protect the property owner. That to make sure that they understand that as we stated in the building code, because of the poor compactability of the soil here and the fact that it shifts around.
I had to replace my whole driveway because they didn't do it properly.
Yeah.
And,
All right. Any other discussion on the changes to the building code?
Just, another comment. When they provide the paperwork to the building inspector, they provide 2 copies. So is one gonna go in the planning commission file,
Not the planning commission file, in the building inspector's file.
but the building inspector is part of the planning commission, I mean, sort of reports to the planning commission, doesn't it?
No.
So is it just a file in the city?
It's a file in the city office.
Okay. So why do we need 2 copies?
One copy gets stamped and goes with the contractor. The other copy gets stamped and stays with us. So that we are both working from the same set of stamped drawings and documents.
And also, the planning commission will be involved in zoning issues, right?
Yes.
So does that require any of those documents do any of the documents that are provided to the building inspector, are they for the zoning issue? Do they cover the zoning issue?
only if it wouldn't be in compliance with.
I can try to answer.
Yeah.
If the layout of the property and the construction was infringing on an easement, that would be something that he would have to say, no, this doesn't work. And then the applicant, if they didn't agree with it, would appeal that to the proper body, whether it's the Board of Zoning Adjustment or the Planning Commission. So those documents then would be part of that evidence of that appeal.
Well, yeah, I see in the flow chart, there's an appeal to the Board of Adjustment. But I thought somewhere it said in here that the planning commission gets involved with zoning issues or approves zoning changes.
Well,
And I'm not
zoning,
sure where it was.
we're gonna talk about zoning.
Yeah, in here it says, no building permit shall be issued for the construction of any building or structures located on a lot or parcel subdivided or sold in violation of the provisions of the Holiday Island Planning and Zoning Regulations.
I'm not sure when something would come to the planning commission. Like Lynn said, if somebody requests a building permit and they need a variance to something, the building inspector's world is black and white. You know, it either meets the zoning requirements or it doesn't. So the first thing he's gonna say is no. So, so the person seeking the permit would go to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment could issue a variance. Now, a variance is not rezoning. You know, it's just a variance to an existing zoning ordinance. If it's of such consequence that it really should be, considered as rezoning, then I guess the Board of Adjustment could, recommend that it be taken up with the Planning Commission.
What about conditional use?
Conditional use permits are handled by the Planning Commission.
It might require a condition.
It might, I mean, if they're applying for a permit with a conditional use, then it would go to the City Planning Commission.
The thing I'm worried about is we have a brand new building inspector. We barely know what's in the zoning regulations. It's very complicated. They're very detailed. And how are we going to be sure that we are following the zoning regulations?
I'm gonna invent a statistic here because, 90% of all statistics are invented on the spot.
Did you read it on Facebook?
So, the vast majority of what's in the zoning ordinances will probably never come up with the building inspector.
You mean it comes up when a neighbor complains? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Or if somebody wants to, subdivide a parcel or, replot something, or
But the deed is already done by that time.
not necessarily. If the building inspector can still say, if somebody comes to the building inspector and says, I just bought this parcel and I want to replot it into these sections, the building inspector is gonna say, I think that's not my job.
That's a real
Go to the
simple
planning
one.
commission.
That's a real no-brainer to me.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of more complicated things than that.
Yeah,
Coming up.
having done this for a while now, most everything that's gonna come up is, I'm 6 inches into the easement in order to squeeze my 2-car garage in, and, can I get a variance on that? The building inspector would say no. The board of zoning adjustment could look at it and say, yeah, it's not close to anything, it's not close to anybody. There's not gonna be any utilities running through there, straight down the hill anyway. So they could, grant the variance. It's never gonna be black and white, I don't think, for anybody. I mean, there's gonna be things when the zoning board of adjustment is gonna say, I don't know if I really have the authority to let you do this, and then it would go to the planning commission.
What about the opposite of somebody that just doesn't seek permission, doesn't seek a permit?
Then they get cited.
Okay, that we will rely on
Once it's discovered.
neighbors, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that would be the same in any city, that,
no, I'm just saying, I see that happening a lot.
I already get little tips here and there that something's going on someplace and wondering if there's a building permit. But, yeah, that's all we can, we are dependent on people paying attention and the building inspector making his rounds. And if he sees something under construction that he had no involvement in, then he's gotta find out what's going on. And he can issue a stop work order if it's in process. There are fines in the building code associated with doing something without a permit. Any other questions?
I know on the flow chart, under the building, when building plans are approved, yes, it says fees to city treasurer who stamps permit and commence work. Isn't the building inspector the one that's gonna stamp the permit now?
That's, in practical terms, that's the way it's been done, because just to get people in and out faster, while you're writing receipts and collecting the money, the building inspector stamps all the documents. Originally, when this was written, the intent was that the stamp is in, they don't get a stamp unless we get the money. And the city, it wasn't necessarily anticipated that you would be in the room at the same time as the building inspector and everybody doing everything at once. In the future, it may be that you're in different offices and they would have to get the building permit basically signed by the building inspector, then they'd have to come to you to pay the fees and get everything stamped.
Well, I was just thinking, in the past, we didn't have a building inspector, so I was stamping the permits. But
I think it was always intended, and in my mind at least, it was always intended that the stamp doesn't come until the money changes hands.
You could change the sentence to say pays fees to city treasurer and obtain stamped permit. That way it leaves it up in the air who stamped it.
Yeah, except that we stamp everything, we stamp the plans and and everything, so.
There are probably gonna be some things that we'll have to adjust, as
Really?
just
It,
take notes.
the way we're doing it now, it's being stamped under the supervision of, of the, treasurer, recorder. Any other questions? Comments? If not, we'll call for the vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Dumas.
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood.
Aye.
Councilmember Graves.
Aye.
Councilmember Mills.
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Ah,
All in favor, Mr. Mayor?
That the motion or the ordinance passes, however, there's an emergency clause, so I'll entertain a motion that we accept the emergency clause.
so move.
Second.
Jerry made the motion to accept, Lynn seconded it. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Dumas.
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood.
Aye.
Councilmember Graves.
Aye.
Councilmember Mills.
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Mr.
All
Mayor?
right, the emergency clause passes and changes are now in effect. Now we'll move on to ordinance number 2022-011, an ordinance establishing Carroll County News for notifications for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. I'll entertain a motion that we pass this ordinance.
I'll move that we approve 2022-11.
Lynn made the motion. Second, Jerry seconded it. Lynn, you wanna read it? Your ordinance.
Ordinance 2022-11, an ordinance establishing Carroll County News for notifications for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. Whereas the city council wishes to properly inform the public of future and present actions taken by the city council and its authorized commissions, and whereas specific city council or commission actions require specific methods for certain public notifications that are detailed within the Arkansas statutes, specifically where the text, quote, shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city, end quote, appears. And whereas the city council shall select an appropriate newspaper for publishing certain public notifications, now be it ordained by the city council of the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas, that section 1, the Carroll County News Midweek, published weekly by Carroll County newspapers in Berryville, Arkansas, shall be designated as the, quote, newspaper of general circulation, end quote, in Holiday Island, and used for the publishing of required notices of the city of Holiday Island and its authorized commissions. Section 2, an emergency clause. For the reason that a commission under the authority of the city of Holiday Island, the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, has determined that it is required to publish a public hearing notice in a, quote, newspaper of general circulation, end quote, within Holiday Island on a date in the very near future, an emergency is declared, and this ordinance shall be effective upon passage. Passed and approved this date.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the ordinance?
As I said, during the planning commission meeting when it took similar action, I looked at 4 newspapers that are circulated in Holiday Island, and Jerry had made some inquiries of the National Press Association, and it was recommended by that association that the Carroll County News from Berryville be the one that we should select for numerous reasons. And that's why I put the ordinance together with their name on it.
It was Arkansas Press Association.
Okay. I read it wrong, Stan. They're member of the National Press Association also.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Your Honor.
And the ordinance passes if there's an emergency clause, so I'll entertain a motion that we pass the emergency clause.
So moved.
Linda made a motion,
I'll second that.
Ken seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor? Roll call
Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman.
Aye.
All in favor, Your Honor.
vote. The emergency clause passes and, ordinance becomes effective immediately. Next on the agenda is resolution number 2022-009. Resolution establishing a temporary fee for bag tag trash service for the city of Holiday Island. Before I ask for a motion, I'll just clarify why I intended for this to be, why it's a resolution as opposed to an ordinance amending the trash contract ordinance, and why it's temporary. We have no experience with this, and we don't really know, how many bag tags we're gonna sell, how big a dumpster to get, or anything else. So this is just a temporary resolution to get us started. And then, 6 months down the road or something like that, we'll actually pass an ordinance to add it to the official contract. So I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2022-009.
I'll move to approve.
Linda made a motion to approve. Second?
I'll second that.
Ken seconded it. Wes, you want to read or I can read it.
Resolution number 2022-009. A resolution establishing a temporary fee for bag tag trash service for the city of Holiday Island. Whereas the city of Holiday Island in ordinance 2022-009 authorized a bag tag service for part-time Holiday Island residents. And whereas ordinance 2022-009 did not specify a rate structure for the bag tag service, and whereas a fee for bag tags must be established in order to initiate providing the service, and whereas a temporary fee is recommended initially to provide time to evaluate usage and cost, now be it resolved by the City Council of Holiday Island that a fee of $3, which includes sales tax per bag tag, be charged to residents who, 1, demonstrate that their Holiday Island residence is not their permanent residence. Number 2, do not rent or otherwise allow the use of their Holiday Island residence either on a long-term or short-term rental basis. And 3, commit to not allowing anyone other than themselves to use the bag tags being purchased. The bag tags will be sold at the city office with the funds going into the general fund under a unique account. Rules for using the bag tags will be provided with each sale. Passed and approved by the City Council of Holiday Island, Arkansas, on this date of 7/19/2022.
Okay. Any discussion?
Guess I'm a little confused as to how this is gonna work. Demonstrate to who? Whoever they buy it from,
Whoever sells them the bag tags, which is me.
which is you.
So,
And enforcement's gonna be a little bit of a like, I don't know how it would be done.
I know, I've gotten a lot of calls and, of course,
You know, there's a need,
you only get calls from people that intend to comply, but,
I was thinking that maybe a way to solve that issue could be you ask them to sign a document attesting to those facts.
I understand that this whole bag tag thing is already baked into the ordinance that was passed,
Well, I know, but
so.
the problem is control. If you want to assure that every water meter is covered and that Carroll County Solid Waste takes care of the vast majority of them, they're gonna be, syncing up the list of water meters to the people that contract for trash out here.
Already baked into the plan.
Exactly,
We'll have
exactly.
a list of
But you
everybody
could
that's
have,
buying bag tags.
these are the outfallers, right? These are the people that aren't gonna be signed up with Carroll County Solid Waste.
Right. Right.
So, to account for each of those uncontracted meters, you need a list, and it would seem that maybe they should have to sign something saying that they fit this description.
I don't know, you're gonna have some kind of spreadsheet or something.
Yeah, we're gonna maintain a record of who is buying bag tags. And this is something that's gonna have to be monitored by the code enforcement officer on a long-term basis. Because somebody could come in and say, okay, I'll take 3 tags.
And that's all they get all year.
20 years later, he's still working on those first 3 tags. So,
It's a way to game the system.
all we're wanting to do here today is approve the $3
I agree.
so we can start selling bag tags. The rest of it is basically already baked into the plan.
The dumpster's ready to come, or?
When I call them and tell them to bring one. I don't have the tags yet, they're on order.
Should we put a date in here, when this should begin?
Now,
Better begin September 1st.
yeah,
That's what,
it'll begin when I get the tags.
And where are you gonna put the dumpster? Are you deciding?
Yeah, across the street.
Over there by that?
Cardboard dumpster. And eventually I'll have a sign made for people to ignore. That say that the dumpsters
Like they do
for bag tag customers only.
Well,
Then we'll have a high-powered game camera on the ISID building here with Lynn monitoring and live on his, because he's always up at.
I hope you're not saying that facetiously.
All right, we're digressing here. Any other discussion on the resolution? All right, roll call vote.
Councilmember Dumas,
Aye.
Councilmember Elwood,
Aye.
Councilmember Graves,
Aye.
Councilmember Mills,
Aye.
Councilmember Quinlan. All in favor, Your Honor?
All right, the resolution passed. You sign that.
Come on.
And for meeting, we still need to sign the building code one. Okay, moving on then, adopting a city planning calendar. Who wants to bring that up?
I will.
All right,
It was advised by our attorney that we have a planning calendar the city would use so that it's used for the purposes of putting meetings and deadlines. And I did some exploration of what would work for our website and found that the Google Calendars, that app that's built into the product, is easily linked to our city website. And for the past month, I've had it out there for trial on a couple of different pages. It seems to function well. The access to the calendar itself is to the people privileged to the storage location of where we keep our documents, so that's limited to a couple of people. So I think management of the calendar can be accomplished safely and accurately.
But viewing can be by anybody?
Yes,
in the public?
The link is on the 2 meeting pages on the city council. The meetings for the city council and the meetings for the planning commission, is a link there to click and open it. And it looks like that, and there's a feature you can click at the top and it'll make it in a list form. Then you can advance the calendar left and right. And, for practice, I populated it with the planning commission and the city council meetings. So I'll soon update it with the agenda item for our public hearing for the planning commission and put certain deadlines on it for that.
It works.
I thought it looked good.
And, can any one of us access that and add something?
No, you'll have to go to Linda or I, the only ones that can administer it so far. We can give you that permission if you want it.
I'm good without it.
Our concern is that all the documents that are out there, that Linda and I keep it closely managed so we don't mess it up. Because all the links that are on our website point to that system, to that data set.
I'm gonna send you the.
When we get to scheduling, then later in the meeting, I did put together my own quickie version of a calendar
Okay,
for, that can be used to populate that.
okay, excellent. So
Okay.
what was for discussion today is make sure that it's okay and appropriate. And, if you hit the link, you'll see how it comes up and how it works.
Okay, do we need a motion to adopt that?
I move we adopt it.
Second.
Too, or it's just.
Yeah, we have to adopt a planning calendar is what was recommended.
Linda made a motion to adopt the planning calendar that Lynn's already demonstrated. Lynn seconded it. Any further discussion? In favor, say aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on, discussion on social media policy. I didn't do anything in preparation for this discussion tonight. I just ran out of time. So do we want to discuss it, or do we want to table it until a future meeting? I haven't had a chance to go back and read what ordinances we've already passed, or resolutions we've already passed.
Something.
We have something in our
We
employee
had
handbook.
our social media that we didn't do it responses, but basically we take the hands off policy. It runs wild. I mean, just.
I don't know, every time I've tried to do something on there, it doesn't work. It comes back worser than it was.
Well, what I intended to do was review our existing policies and see if they needed to be amended, and I didn't get around to preparing myself to do that. So I would suggest that we table it until the next meeting.
I don't have a problem with that, but it's something we really need to address. I mean, I think we can't put our heads in the sand.
I mean, when you look at it, there's things on there that are totally wrong. But when you try to clarify them, it gets worse.
I mean, it's
We-
just.
We live in an age of alternate facts, so, I guess.
Well, but when we have the facts, I mean, there's one post on there that's got like 150 responses about telling people that we don't have the authority to do things, and they cite crap that's just made up.
Well, there's like, somebody's been posting, about the trash, pickups, and they got the new rates, they go down very much, and there's
Yeah, I think we understand.
surcharge. And
I think we understand the problem. What we need to do is
I would
come
like,
up with a proposal for the council to consider on
could I
how we
ask you,
might address it.
could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You signed a contract with Carroll County, but that contract sets those rates for a specific time. They cannot be changed unless we modify the contract, right?
Right.
But there, I mean, there are people saying that, they're gonna just escalate and they're putting surcharges and stuff, and that's not right. That's incorrect.
And they'll all find that out when they get their bill. All right, moving on, we'll table that then. Discussion on animal dogs ordinance. Anybody wanna take that one on?
No.
I get,
I mean, I think that one is gonna take several months of planning and.
well, what I would like someone to volunteer to do is do a little bit of work, not, you know, thousands of hours of research, but do a little bit of work in, investigating what it costs a city to enforce an animal control ordinance.
I would imagine it's in the $35,000-$50,000 range.
I mean, you gotta have a place to put dogs, you gotta have, vehicles to transport them, equipment to, you know, strap them. I mean,
But this is where I'm coming from. I'm getting more and more calls from people, about, you know, the dog next door barks all day and all night, or the neighbor has two dogs that, you know, that run loose in the neighborhood and they eat cats. And, you know, I'm not kidding. I mean, I get calls like that. And so, you know, animal control is something that cities are somewhat expected to do. And,
It's something.
I would at least like to know what the cost might be of us having at least a cursory animal control capability where we could at least address the worst of situations.
I can see us having some sort of an ordinance that makes it, makes certain things illegal. Like people who have dogs that are roaming and bite, and they can be traced to an owner. And,
You gotta have.
yet we still have to figure out, you know, I don't see us ever in the near future having a dog shelter where we can put dogs.
well, but the example you just mentioned though, what do you do with a vicious dog?
Well, you cite them first. I mean, that would be the minimal thing to do, is cite
It
them
doesn't
and
work.
fine them. I mean, that would help a little bit at least. It would put the onus back on the owner, otherwise they suffer some consequences.
It's certainly something that every city struggles with. And, you know, cities have tried to go to extremes to ban vicious dogs. Kansas City at one time banned a whole breed. You couldn't have a pit bull in the city limits of Kansas City. And that got shot down as being unconstitutional, that you can't select out one breed or one citizen for the breed they chose to have as a pet. So it's not a simple problem, but it's something that people are going to expect the city to get involved in.
You know,
I at this point, I'm just asking for somebody
I could
to volunteer to look into
look
it,
into some of the surrounding cities and
see what they do and what it costs them.
You know, I think some of them, you know, you have to contract with somebody that has an animal.
I think Eureka Springs probably uses Good Shepherd.
I think so.
Well,
They
the
pay 'em.
police department has their own little pins,
They do.
dogs, stray dogs.
Can you contact,
Contract
it out?
I mean, at the very least, we could, you know, I don't want to dump any more on the code enforcement officer, but if your dog is caught running free, I mean, there's literally a dog over on Table Rock Drive. If you don't check your garage when you close it at night, he's liable to be sleeping in there. And
Well, I haven't got a call yet about a dog sleeping in the garage.
I can even tell you his name.
Well, at least he's a nice dog.
Well,
You know who I'm talking about.
so, is somebody gonna volunteer? Ken, you're volunteering to look at it? Okay, thank you.
You might also be able to cite marking dogs.
Don't get carried away with this.
That may be a.
Well, a barking dog would probably fall under the general category of nuisance. But see, there's a whole section in the municipal code about animal control, so. It's a big enough deal to cities that they have a whole section in the municipal
I think we
code
should
about it.
take some action, but not extreme.
We have to be very careful, or, you know, where it's easy, our revenue stream.
But at least if somebody calls me and says, why aren't you rounding up all the vicious dogs? I can tell them, because we looked at it and it's gonna cost X number of dollars a year to have animal
You know, that-
control,
You know, that's,
and we don't have the money.
that's what I look at initially, just look and see what.
Yeah.
Ken, I might also suggest you look at their revenue stream, if they do it through tags and licenses, or
Well,
how do they collect their money to support it?
Our, doctors and hospitals, required to report dog bites that they treat.
I have no idea. I haven't had any calls yet where people were afraid of being attacked themselves. It's always,
You see it
they're
on social
attacking-
media all the time.
they're attacking other pets and stuff like that.
Ken Brown got bit 3 times. I think.
Yeah, that person and dog is long gone, but that, I mean, like I said, it's something that people are gonna expect the city to be involved in. Right, that's the agenda, the end of the agenda item under new business. Anybody else have anything under business that they wanna bring up? If not, we'll move on to public comments.
Did you
3 minutes.
read my text that I sent you this afternoon about the traffic issue on State Line Road?
Yes. That's not a city street,
I thought we adopted that street.
not state line from the 4-way down to Woodsdale.
Okay.
We only went from Holiday Island Drive. We went from Holiday Island Drive to the northern boundary, not from Holiday Island Drive down to Woodsdale. Now,
I'm still trying to figure out what that guy's doing up there.
usually, the road department will stop and tell them that they have stopped there already at that job site and told them that they can't park halfway on the road and halfway off the road. They have to be off the road. Today was an unusual circumstance. I guess we could talk to the builder and tell them that if they're gonna be working in the street out of necessity, they need to have some traffic control people.
That was with the crane up here.
Yeah, the pumper truck.
7 cars and 2 trucks. Blocked the lane.
Oh, I know, I had to take a detour.
I did the
Yeah.
detour after I
When
went
I-
down, after I got started.
When I came down here about noon, I didn't have any trouble getting past it. It wasn't, the cement truck was back down that driveway and all the other vehicles were off the road, so. Okay, public comments, 3-minute time limit. Any public? Yes,
Okay, my first time, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
I just,
Do I stand here and talk?
well, tell us who you are.
Okay, my name is Catherine Bridges. I have been a resident on Blue Water Circle since 2015, and I have 3 concerns that I'd like to address. Not sure if this is the place to do it, so you're my starting point. One of my biggest concern probably is there are 13 building structures right across the street. Out of the 13, 4 are Airbnbs. The traffic has just jumped. If you've not been on Blue Water Circle, take the time to drive it. It is a very short street. Cars are just lined up. I know of one person that can't park sometimes in front of their own house because of the B&B issues. Big vehicles, boats. My request is that we come up with something that says all the residents in that particular area get to vote, say, 4 out of 13 structures is enough. Rumor in our neighborhood is there are going to be 2 or 3 more. We got to do something now, or these are going to be out of control, just like Eureka Springs is doing. So that's a big issue. Okay.
in response to that first
Yes.
issue, later on when we talk about scheduling, I am putting in the calendar a workshop to at least start gathering information about VRBOs and Airbnbs with the intent of coming up with some sort of regulations on.
I appreciate that, as do I know, let me count for a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 13 are concerned about this.
Mhm.
And the 4, yes, sir. You want to make, I only have 3 minutes, you don't have to make your own 3 minutes. The second issue is, this is a one-way street. I can't tell you how many people, first of all, the one-way street sign got taken down in the last week. So at the other end where it doesn't even say wrong way, do not enter, but the one-way sign is now down. I know that's not your issue, but it's not being enforced. The mailman comes the wrong direction. Carroll County trash comes the wrong direction. That can be an issue when you've got that many residents in a small space. So the one-way street is a concern. And the third one kind of goes.
On the signage, you're gonna have to get with HICID and
Right.
talk to them about getting the signage back up.
Okay, I didn't know who to do, so
Yeah.
now I know. Third one is the speed bump. I'd love to see a speed bump in there. I don't know if that's anything you guys could do or not, but the traffic, we see a lot of traffic that just goes constantly. A lot of contractors are using that as a shortcut. I don't know why, but they're using that, and the speed in just the last 3 weeks, I know, has just increased. The speed, the traffic, big concern.
Here again, that's a HICID street
Okay.
at this point, so.
And I appreciate that too.
talk to
But
them.
thank you for your time. I love living here. 2015 wasn't soon enough, but thank you. Do I have any more time that I can chit chat or anything? I love to visit. No, anybody else want my 3 minutes? Okay, I'm finished.
All right, next.
Hi, I'm Betty Luna, number 2 Blue Water Circle. So my concern, and I'm not sure who to ask, the assessment fee, the yearly assessment fee, is that your department?
No, that's
Then,
HICID.
okay, so I have a question about this. HICID, when you ask HICID anything, all you get is no answer. I was told, I've asked 3 years in a row what that assessment fee is for. So I guess my understanding of an assessment fee was, it was for a specific project, it had a start date, it had an end date, and it had a set payment. I don't see that playing out at all, and I guess my question is that since we have become a city, why do we still have HICID?
Well,
Is
that's,
there a way we can get rid of HICID?
that's a subject that we can't cover in the meeting here, especially in 3 meetings. I'd be more than happy to talk to you after the meeting
Okay,
about it, but
well, we will talk about that.
it's under constant discussion. It's not gonna happen anytime in the near
Well-
future for a lot of reasons. And, but I can at least tell you where or what am I volunteering for? There's 2 commissioners.
Well, my question is then, is that I just wanna see a cap on this fee. I mean, it's like, we don't know how they decide to raise the fee, we don't get notified that they're gonna raise the fee. When I asked about the fee last time, I was told, well, gas prices have gone up, so we raised the fee. That's not an answer that really ticked me off. I
Well,
wanna, but who do I talk to in the HICID office then, so I can find out and get a real answer?
why don't you start out by taking it up with Mr. Dyer or Mr. Stamps? They are,
Okay, good.
they are
I'll come over and
commissioners.
see you, because I'm not a happy camper. And then also with I know we're gonna address the Airbnb thing too, and I don't know, guys, I was just kind of concerned about, I didn't attend the meetings for the trash service or anything, but aren't we in danger of creating a monopoly when we only go with one contractor?
It's not a monopoly, it's a solid waste district that was formed by the county. They operate as a district, not a for-profit company. They have a board of directors that supervises all of their activity. They report to, or they're under the supervision of the State Department of Environmental Quality.
Okay, I see
And,
your answer, that's all, I was just curious, because I thought, that kind of gets,
and most cities, if they don't pick up the trash themselves, most cities specify who the hauler is gonna be.
oh, they do? Okay, that's it, I don't know, I just moved here, so, 3 years ago, but I'm just now finding out about everything here, so, okay, we'll be back to other meetings, but we'll figure out who's doing what, next will be HICID.
All right,
Every now and then.
anybody else?
I just had a quick question. I'm also on Blue Water Circle, I'm number 7. Jerry said here is number 6. And
I didn't say my numbers for.
she spoke, everything she spoke, and everything Betty just spoke, everyone in this row all kind of feels the same way. We're all, they built some Airbnbs on Blue Water Drive, and one of the reasons we're getting a lot more people on this street is people used to go through the stop sign and make a right on Blue Water Drive. Now they're speeding through our street to get over to these 4 B&B homes that have been built on Blue Water Drive. And the traffic is just unbelievable. It's just, everything
I
she
can't let
said.
my dog run loose. That's how bad it is.
You should let your dog run.
That was a joke. That was a joke. Sorry, that was a joke. And my dog's a pit bull, so there you go.
Doesn't eat cats.
You
He's
don't
fine.
eat cats?
We definitely intend to,
The middle school teacher, we just.
we intend to get some control over the VRBO.
Yeah.
I let my mom run loose.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that Jerry, at our last meeting, Jerry went over a lot of regulations that other cities that have a lot of tourists come to them, that they have implemented to control their Airbnbs, VRBOs, and many of the, some of those regulations that they come up with specify that they have to provide adequate parking off-street
And they're,
for the number of bedrooms, number of people they can hold. So, those are regulations we're gonna be looking seriously at.
the ones that are right over here, I think, not sure,
Green Meadow,
maybe, I'm not sure, familiar with. We've had families stay there, and they have designated parking. They're not in the way, they're not in the street. I don't know how you do that with Blue Water.
Well, we don't have parking, there is no off-street parking except for.
Right.
I owned one of the condos in the second set here. We had 2 spaces per unit.
Right.
And then we also had an agreement with HICID that before we bought a house and moved here permanently, I was the condo association president. We had an agreement with HICID that any excess vehicles can park in the lots here. And
There's a perfect place for them to park back over here by the dumpster.
I mean, that may be one thing, but again, that would be HICID that you'd have to get that permission from.
One more quick thing. When I had a B&B in Eureka Springs, which is different than a B&B, you have to live in the home, it's different than an Airbnb. But when I bought the house, before I did the final closing, I knew I was thinking of doing a B&B. So a letter had to go out to all the immediate neighbors. And if they didn't want me to be there, then I was not buying that house. And I think that's something that Holiday Island ought to more check out more.
Well, that's what a lot of cities are putting in their ordinances, that if you're zoned for single-family residence only, you may have to get.
Now you just opened another can of worms.
Anyway, you have to get the conditional use.
He knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah. I would like to cut this conversation off here because this is evolving into a workshop.
Right, no,
And
one
I'm gonna-
quick thing,
we will-
we are zoned commercial, and we don't like that either, because but anyway, when he said, whatever it was, individuals, we are unfortunately zoned commercial. So I don't wanna be hiding that fact, you figure that out on your own, but yes, I understand it, yeah. I'm happy.
I don't live on Blue Circle. And I do have a question about the trash. I received a letter, I think everybody did, but it wasn't very explainable because it said contact this trash company, but there was no way to contact this trash company. I don't know where they are located, I don't know anything about them, and there was no telephone number, no city where they're from, nothing. So how was I supposed to contact them?
I can give you the number.
The phone number is
I would like that.
The phone number is 253-2727.
That's,
253 what?
That's not right.
2727.
is that the
What?
870 number?
No,
Can one person give
that's
me the,
479.
I'm sorry,
It's 479, the Eureka Springs office.
Yeah, but they don't answer.
They don't do that.
They don't
They don't
answer the
answer.
phone.
Call Berryville.
Here's the phone number.
Okay.
The office in Berryville is 870-423-7156.
7156.
Yep.
And it's located in Berryville.
Berryville.
Okay,
And April,
And you're probably best off asking for April, because she's the one that probably knows the most about what's going on.
okay, thank you.
as in most instances, women know what the hell happened.
It's what?
Women know what's going on.
Oh,
Call
okay,
Eureka
very
You
Springs.
good.
can do that all
They
over
don't
the phone.
answer, they don't, they leave a message,
sorry?
they don't call
You can do
back.
it all over the phone. You don't have to
That's
go
just very
serious.
cycle center.
Okay, all right. So I think various trucks go past my, I live at 303 Holiday Island Drive. And there's various trucks go by my house. And I didn't know which one was which or who they are or anything.
There's a yellow truck.
Yellow.
Okay, anyway, that's what, okay, that, and what's the name of them?
Carroll County Solid Waste.
Carroll County.
And they don't do that down this way.
And when do we have to do this by?
September 1st.
Or what will they do to us? What will you do to us? That's not holding.
The code enforcement officer will knock on the door and
And eat my cat, I
try
don't have any
to-
cats.
try to
See, dogs eat my
encourage
cat,
you.
I don't have any cats or dogs.
They will encourage you to get signed up, because if you don't sign up, there are fines and penalties in the ordinance for not paying for, or not having contracted for.
I have another
Trash
question,
disposal.
why don't, if it's something we have to do, why isn't it going to be billed like our water department is billed?
Because we don't own Carroll County Solid Waste, we don't do their billing for them, neither does the district.
They do their own billing.
Yeah.
They do a good job. It's very easy, you just get a bank draft and you never have to mess with it again.
And it's gonna be the same thing every month, right?
The contract is at least for a year.
And they have several options to pick from, depending on how much trash you generate, so.
You got a whole range of,
Yeah.
Well, usually my daughter picks mine up once a week when she comes to visit, so I've never had a trash service.
Yeah.
I only have one bag every week or two. I don't cook.
There's a rate that's
There's a
about
rate for that.
less than $7 for that amount of trash.
yeah, it'd be less than $7. $9.95.
Yes, sir, one more comment, and then I think we're.
I did call them last week. You can buy a 15-gallon trash bag. It comes over there, they go, on Wednesday is their day to pick up. If you have a little more than that, you have to put it in another bag, it's $1.85 more for that second bag that you have with the first 15-gallon trash bag.
Wait a minute, that's not
Then
right.
the next level is a can, a bigger can, and that was 24 something.
There's a
There was a two-bag service.
two bag for about 17 or 18 dollars.
About $17.
79 cents.
For what size bag?
Two 30-gallon bags.
30-gallon bags.
She told me 2 15 size.
They do.
That's
The
that's
$7 rate is the
I just don't think we got it.
15-gallon.
And a lot of people don't generate that much.
Yeah, getting back to those labels, like if you don't, put some dumpster somewhere. Is that, yeah, the tag, is that $3 per bag?
Per bag tag, yeah,
What size bag is are those?
up to 30-gallon.
Is that for residents who live here permanently?
It's only for,
Just-
it's for the weekenders, because they don't have the option of putting their garbage down at the end of the driveway on Sunday night and having it sit there till Wednesday to be picked up.
So the bag tag is strictly for people that own the big number.
Right,
Can I get a quick question
okay.
in? Bam,
One more.
just real quick here. My name is Tracy George, I've lived here since 2014, and you were discussing earlier, if you have a problem with, say, a permit with the, building inspection, they may appeal to the zoning board of adjustment. Who or where is the zoning board of adjustment?
I haven't appointed them yet, unless it's the city council right now.
We have not appointed, and the zoning regulation that we have is there's gonna be a 3-member board appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the council. And that doesn't take place, isn't in place until we pass the zoning ordinances.
Okay.
We don't have that in place yet.
All right.
Will that be before or after the elections?
It'll be as soon as possible.
The agenda for the public hearing is for the public comments, and following that hearing will be a regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And in that meeting, probably the agenda item will be to recommend those ordinances to the city council. And the city council has to get on their agenda and approve it.
And are those meetings held at the same day every month?
They are planned for the second Tuesday of each
Second
month.
Tuesday.
But our agenda for the hearing has been moved to the Wednesday in August, August 10th.
So normally it's the second Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am, for Planning and Zoning Commission.
Is that at 6 o'clock?
Planning and Zoning Commission is at 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
But the August 10th meeting will be 6.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
hearing is on.
That's.
The hearing will be at 6 p.m. on August 10th.
Okay, let's move on then.
I have the trash rates here, if someone is interested.
Okay. Moving on then, council member comments? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Have we got any update or back from the sheriff
I just started working on the rewrite of the changes they want to the contract, which I need to bounce off of the county before I bring it back to the council. Regular meeting scheduling. Let me circulate this one and this one. You can take this home and send it to your
I'll do my best to
refrigerator
update.
so that you can refer to it every morning.
I will do my best to update the planning calendar so you can see it online.
Let me just briefly go through this, and I did like Lynn did, I put the standard meetings in here. I'm recommending that we have a city council workshop on VRBOs and first pass at the budget on the 18th of August at 1 o'clock. Hopefully that will work for people. By that time, Wes, we would need to have some preliminary projections for revenue for next year. That's all we would be ready to look at that point.
I mean, for the, city budget.
Yeah, for the city budget. And then in September, I penciled in a city council budget workshop, that's all we would work on, would be the budget again at 1 o'clock on the 25th. Hopefully everybody can make it.
That first Friday, that building, that's permanent, right?
Yeah. And then,
Fixing up our roads and that type of thing.
let's see, on October, again, just a point of interest, we need to pass an ordinance in October, setting our tax millage at 0 again, if that's what we intend to do, so that we can notify the county.
City taxes.
And then, again, a budget workshop on the 18th at 1 o'clock if needed. And in November, I put another workshop in on the 18th of November, but with TBD agenda, I don't know if we'll need it or not.
Should we have workshops before the regular meeting, or?
We have the meetings early in the week that, we already have the planning commission in the second week. So, if we, I don't know, it just seemed to work best for me to do it on Thursday after the city council meeting. Now, if somebody wants to suggest a different date, we can definitely do that.
I don't know, I just come back to what, what we did in the VOC, workshops, we, the regular meeting.
On the 16th of November, we'll have to pass an ordinance setting salaries for 2023, so that can be baked into the budget. And then in December, we will have to pass the budget for 2023. Those are the highlights of what I could see coming at us for the rest of the year.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
For our planning calendar, the public one, I think we should limit it to just say a city council meeting. The agenda items is something that we can use for planning, but do you want it to be that specific on the planning calendar? Are we setting that? Are we going to agree to that tonight?
We probably, the further out you go, the less likely it is that agenda is going to be firm.
Okay.
So we can, I guess we can keep that.
You can call it tentative agenda. I mean,
yeah,
tentative. I just want to be clear that if I'm going to put it on there, that it's not set in stone yet.
Yeah. We can leave the agenda items off of the city calendar.
Okay.
And just block out the time.
Okay.
And we'll get the, we'll get the agenda out in plenty of notification.
Sure.
And of course, for everybody's information, in case you're wanting to run for mayor, please. For any city council position, the filing period starts August 3rd and ends August 10th at noon. So if you want to, run for office, those are critical dates. After the 10th of August, it's too late. Anything else? Any announcements?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Second?
Who made the motion?
Jerry made the motion to adjourn. Linda seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. And thank you all for coming.
That Bill said was